Hey, it's Ron, and I want to tell you a story about business and how that story changed everything. It's late 1970 in Rome, Italy, and a man is pacing across a small apartment overlooking the Via Veneto. He's holding a phone in one hand and a script in the other. An American sitcom, he mutters, half amused, half tired, about a man who argues with everyone, calls people names on television. No, nobody's going to buy that. The voice on the other end keeps talking, calm, insistent, trying to convince him that audiences are ready for something new, something honest. But he isn't so sure. He's spent a lifetime acting through safe television, neat families, smiling fathers, and endings that fit inside a sponsor break. This script feels too raw, too real, too risky. He looks out the window past the glow of the cafe lights below and he exhales. I'll do it, he finally says, but book me a round trip. It sounds like a joke, but there's a silence that follows. The sound of two men realizing that this might be more than a job. It might be a test. The man hangs up, pours a drink, and laughs under his breath. He doesn't know it yet, but the role he just accepted will define him and redefine what television can be. Because in a few short months, Carol O'Connor will become Archie Bunker, and All in the Family will make America look at itself for the first time. So how does one reluctant yes from an actor living overseas end up reshaping what a country thinks television can do? Why would a character built to provoke end up becoming a mirror America couldn't look away from? And on January 12th, 1971, how did Carol O'Connor's gamble turn All in the Family into a show that forced a nation to see itself? From Business Basics, I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business History, the daily podcast where we explain the stories that changed business forever. Throughout history, every date of the year has a story where business reshaped the world. Today, January 12th, that story takes us to 1971. All in the Family premieres, and television gets real. The man from Rome, Carol O'Connor, isn't famous at this point. Not really. He's been working in film and television for 20 years, long enough to know how the business works and how little it rewards nuance. His face has passed through dozens of shows. Bonanza, The Fugitive, The Untouchables. Always the side character, never the headline. When World War II ended, he studied in Ireland, married, and followed the work wherever it went. Italy treated him really well. Steady film jobs, decent pay, and none of the Hollywood politics. So when this script arrived from America, it didn't really feel like a career opportunity. It felt kind of like a deja vu. The pilot for this show was nothing like the sitcoms that anybody had grown up watching. No perfect families, no moral lesson wrapped up before the final commercial. The lead was a loud, stubborn factory worker who complained about everything from politics to his own kids. He could already hear the audience's reaction. Click, that was them turning the channel. Still, the script had something in it. Rhythm, or bite, or truth, a kind of honesty that was missing from television's endless parade of clean living rooms. He didn't believe it would survive a season, but he respected the intent. So he took the flight back to America, one ticket booked, one in reserve, so that he could play a role that might end his anonymity or end his career. The production felt small, uncertain. The set was a working-class home in Queens, threadbare furniture, a television always on. The man went through his lines, testing the accent, the timing, the tone. It really wasn't easy to find. The character was written as crude and blunt, but he decided he wanted to play him real, someone whose frustration hid fear, whose noise covered loneliness. Network executives were nervous. Advertisers threatened to pull out. They weren't sure audiences would laugh at racial slurs or class tension or Vietnam-era arguments in prime time. But one test audience laughed in all the right places, and they gasped in all the wrong ones. That's when the producers knew they had something dangerous. When All in the Family finally aired, the phones at CBS lit up. Letters poured in, half praise and half of it fury. People argued at work and in bars and around dinner tables. And sitting at home, the man from Rome watched the chaos unfold. He'd been right about one thing: America wasn't ready. But he was wrong about what that meant. Because readiness doesn't make change happen, discomfort does. And Carroll O'Connor had just become the most uncomfortable man on television. So how do we tie all this into business? Well, the show didn't just work, it exploded. Within months, All in the Family was the #1 program in America. Critics called it groundbreaking, offensive, revolutionary, dangerous. Sometimes all of that in the same paragraph. Sponsors, who'd hesitated to buy airtime, now fought for commercial slots. The ratings soared, and the advertising dollars followed. CBS suddenly had the youngest audience it had ever seen. It was a turning point for television economics. Controversy became strategy. Networks realized that the right kind of discomfort kept viewers glued to their screens. All in the Family proved that social realism could be profitable. But for Carroll O'Connor, success came with a cost. People didn't just watch Archie Bunker. They believed him. On the street, strangers yelled, "Hey, Archie!" Some nodded with admiration. Others spat the name like an accusation. O'Connor, a very thoughtful liberal, spent years trying to separate himself from the character who made him rich and trapped him at the same time. Even so, he understood what they'd done. For the first time, television had held up a mirror instead of a mask. It didn't fix America's divisions, but it made the business of pretending impossible. Because on January 12, 1971, when All in the Family hit the airwaves, television stopped selling fantasy and started selling a reflection. And the television industry started to realize that when you sell reality, you'd better be ready for people to recognize that reality in themselves. And that night, entertainment grew a conscience, but business also learned how to cash in on it. I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business History, the podcast that finds the turning points behind the headlines. To hear more stories like this, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. And if you're enjoying the stories, don't forget to subscribe and maybe leave a quick review. It helps more people find the story behind the business. And do you want to actually understand business without the fluff or the buzzwords or the MBA language? Start by visiting us at businessdailypodcast.com.
We all crave something new. At Hertz, new is what we're all about. New adventures, new experiences. When you book with us, you'll be cruising in our newest fleet yet. New features, new tech, and of course, that new car smell. All that wonderful newness, all with no strings attached. So go on, book your new car fling at Hertz.com. Your old car at home never has to know.